right, week one is finally here, guys. Fantasy football fans, rejoice. Week one of the NFL week. We got some big games to start off week one. We're going to discuss 6 of our top fantasy implication games here today. Tommy, what are you excited for?
I'm just excited we got football every Sunday from here on out to the next year. We got a lot of players moving teams. We got a lot of free agent moves. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start off with the running backs, a couple holdouts. Melvin Gordon, Ezekiel Elliott. How do you feel about that, Gil?
You know, we were talking earlier before we went on the air. Zeke, I think, he's gonna get onto the field. I'm sure Jerry Jones and the Cowboys will figure out a way to get Zeke on the field. Very valuable player. Melvin Gordon asked for a trade. Where does he go? And what does that do for the Chargers?
Well, can Austin Eckler and Jackson perform in the backfield and take care of those duties? I really like Melvin Gordon, but I think they can. So it's a big decision by the Chargers to make.
We'll see where he goes. There's numerous places, numerous teams rumored where Melvin Gordon could go. Houston is looking like a top contender to pick up Melvin Gordon. But do the Chargers even want to trade Melvin Gordon?
It just depends on how much he wants, how much salary cap they have. Like I was just saying, I think they could let him go, maybe get a first-round draft pick for next year and utilize the backs that they have. But we'll see going on and see how this plays out the next few weeks before the season starts.
Couple big offseason moves. What is the biggest move in the offseason with fantasy implications involved?
A lot of people don't like it, but I like Le'Veon Bell going to the Jets. I think Sam Darnold's going to make a good progression in his second year. I like Robbie Anderson. Who else do the Jets have? Let's see. The Jets have a couple good players, receivers. I think he's going to make a big impact. A lot of checkdowns. He's going to get a lot of volume. I think Le'Veon Bell is going to be a great pick. He's going around the 4th to 8th pick. I think that's value at the 7th, 8th spot. So we'll see.
You know, it's a big move for the Jets. Not only is Le'Veon Bell potentially going to have a big year, Sam Darnold, starting quarterback over for the Jets, I think it's going to open him up. It's going to take some pressure off of him coming off of his rookie season. Another maybe sleeper pick for quarterback, maybe picking him up in the later rounds. I don't think anybody's going to really be looking at him, but I really feel Le'Veon Bell's going to take a lot of pressure off of him.
Yeah, and the quarterback draft is very deep, so I'm sure everybody wants Mahomes. I would love to have Mahomes early, but you could get a lot of quarterbacks in those later rounds. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, Ben Roethlisberger. There's going to be a lot of value in those later rounds, so it's hard to pull the trigger on Patrick Mahomes right away.
It is. It's going to be hard to pull the trigger. However, you really can't miss with Mahomes. Then again, you never know. Injury can come up. Mm-hmm. Isn't he not on the cover of Madden this year? Who's on the cover?
He is.
And you know about that Madden curse. We will see what happens with Mahomes this season in Kansas City. Let's go ahead and get into our 6 games that we have lined up. We're going to go over 6 games here in week one that have the biggest fantasy implications for your team, for our team, for everyone's team. We're going to start off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and San Francisco Giants. And to many of you at home, you're probably thinking...
Niners.
Thinking baseball.
Yep.
Those of you at home are probably thinking this game means nothing. And probably really the only reason we're featuring is because I'm a Bucs fan and Tommy is a Niners fan. What do you see going on? A lot of storylines here. The biggest storyline I feel, Jameis Winston coming into a big season. New head coach.
Yes, I think Bruce Arians has been very great with the Arizona Cardinals. I think they went to the playoffs 2 out of the 3 years. 9 wins one season, 10 wins the next season, 11 the next. So he has a good winning record. The only problem is Jameson lost Humphries and Jackson. So is Goodwin going to be able to perform? And does he have enough help? So I know I feel like if Jameis Winston could hold down the interceptions, I think there's a possibility. But the thing is my team is the Niners, so I am a little bit biased. But we did get a lot of defensive players. We got D Ford. We got Nick Bosa, who's a beast. His brother is just outstanding. We got Jimmy Garoppolo back. And you know who I think is going to make one of the biggest impacts is George Kittle. I think he's going to possibly beat Zach Ertz. He's going to push Kelsey for that number 1 spot this year.
A lot of stuff going on for the Niners. Jameis Winston, 14 interceptions. You mentioned his interceptions from last year. 14 interceptions last year. A scary start for anybody. Last year, Niners bottom of the barrel as far as fantasy points go for defense, and as well as the Buccaneers bottom of the barrel for fantasy defensive points. Mm-hmm. Offensive-wise, I really think Winston has the weapons. He has the coach. He has the tools. Can he put it all together? I think week 1 is going to be a big week for him. As far as our awesome sauce players of the game, who is your awesome sauce? Who do you start? Who's the big man on the?
I think the number 1 player for the Niners is going to be George Kittle. I think he's possibly going to have 100 yards, a touchdown. He's going to be 17 to 20 points, depending on your if you're PPR, depending on your league rules. But I think he's going to have one of the best games.
I think Winston is going to be a big-time player this week. Going against the defense, I know you mentioned Bosa's there. They also picked up D Ford and Quan Alexander coming over from the Bucs in the offseason. I just don't know if they're going to have it gelling to improve that defense here in week 1. So I'm going with Jameis Winston as the awesome sauce player of the week. Look for him to have big points passing to the legs.
So who do you think is going to win that game?
If we're going to go based off, where is the game in San Francisco?
No, I think it's in Tampa Bay. So
I think, the West Coast, traveling all the way over from the West Coast or vice versa, traveling from the East Coast, does play a big factor into how teams perform. Being that it is week 1, though, I think the Niners are going to come ready to play. I really do feel like Tampa Bay has more talent, and I feel like they're going to be able to pull this one off. If I had to pick a score, I'd say 48-3.
Oh my goodness!
So that's not really pulling it off. That's demolishing them. So yeah, I look for your Niners to get demolished.
The only people, who do you have? You guys have Goodwin. You also have who's your stud number 1 receiver?
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. All right, but I feel like they should have made a play on running back this year. Peyton Barber. We just picked up Talvin Coleman, free agent. We have Jerick McKinnon coming back. We have Breida. I think our running game is going to be able to take time off the clock and time of possession. We're going to win that battle, and I think it's going to be probably about 28-14 Niners.
I think it's going to be a good game for the Buccaneers. 48-3, I'm sticking with it. I know you brought up a lot of good points there. Let's move on to the next game. We're going Carolina and the LA Rams. Another big storyline for that game. LA obviously coming off Super Bowl appearance last year. They also added veterans on the defensive side. Clay Matthews, Eric Weddle coming in on the defensive side. The Rams last year, fantasy-wise, finished second in points scored on defense, only behind the Bears last year. So the defense, rock solid, just adding even more veteran leadership talent. I know those guys are on the back end of their careers. How do you see the Rams doing on defense in this game?
I think it's only going to improve, like you said, adding that veteran experience and the way they got handled in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. That's exactly why they brought these guys in. So they're gonna improve definitely. But my questions are at running back. Todd Gurley, they paid him a lot of money, and it's a knee injury, correct?
Yes, yeah, they're looking like at some ligament damage.
So that's where I'm thinking, is he going to be able to be on the field? Is he going to be able to get those reps in? I know they have a great rookie in Darrell Henderson. They have Malcolm Brown as the backup, so I think they do have talent, second, third string, but it's Todd Gurley. He's a one-of-a-kind talent, so I just want to see what's going to happen there.
We shall see. Tons of fantasy options for the Rams when we're talking not only the defense. You brought up Gurley. There's Jared Goff. The big return for the Rams this year. Cooper Kupp coming back from injury. Big target for Jared Goff. Look for Cooper Kupp to have a big game.
Yes, Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds, Robert Woods, Higbee. I forgot Higbee's first name, but man, they just have a lot of talent. Everybody catches the ball, everybody scores, everybody runs after the catch. They get yards after the catch. So it's a very talented team, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Panthers can do. I know they got McCaffrey, they got Olsen. They acquired Torrey Smith. He's going to be a deep threat, and it just depends on can Cam Newton, deliver that ball.
That's going to be the big question mark, I think, this year. Last year, Cam Newton not in the top 10 for TDs or passing yards last year for a fantasy quarterback. Going to have a turnaround season. He had that great rookie year, I think, and everybody was riding high on Cam Newton. Since then, maybe not as big of performance fantasy-wise for fantasy players here in the last couple of years. We'll see what happens, though. He definitely has the talent. I think McCaffrey, again, takes, just like Le'Veon Bell, is going to take the pressure off the quarterback in New York for the Jets. I think McCaffrey now, coming into his own, people are going to be respecting McCaffrey, and Newton's going to should have potentially a big year.
And you got to remember, too, he also, depending on your fantasy rules, he's getting those rushing yards, which is a big benefit. Rushing TDs, that's a lot of points that is going to boost compared to quarterback that's not rushing, so it's up in the air. I feel like he's gonna have a decent season, but I definitely think that the Rams will win that week 1.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I believe the Rams are gonna easily take this one. As far as awesome sauce for your fantasy team, Jared Goff, so many weapons to choose from in this game. I really feel like he's gonna have a big game. I'm going with Jared Goff as our awesome sauce, at least mine, for this week 1 matchup against the Panthers.
And with me, even though I said that the Rams are going to win this game, I think McCaffrey is going to be my awesome sauce player because he's going to have the volume. He's going to have at least 7 to 10 receptions. He's going to have about 80 yards rushing and 1 to 2 touchdowns. So this dude is going to put up big points. So if you have him, you start him, and that's my awesome sauce player of that game.
Awesome. Should be a fun game. I think a lot of offense in that game. It should be fun.
Yep.
We're going to go on to our next game. After this game, we're going to check in with Chef Robert. He's going to show you bums how to cook a great meal for your first week 1.
For cheap.
Yeah, it shouldn't cost you much. Okay, so we're going to head over there just a bit. We're going to finish up here with the Colts and the Chargers in the first half of our 6-pick game here. Colts versus Chargers. Lots of fantasy implications here. Andrew Luck, he was 3rd in interceptions thrown last year among fantasy quarterbacks. You got T.Y. Hilton, top 5 receiver, had a big year last year. And then also Eric Ebron, as far as the tight ends go. I know it's tough to find a tight end in fantasy football. How do you feel about the Colts going into this year, Tommy?
I like both these teams. The Colts won 8 or 9 games straight. The Chargers came on very strong towards the end of the season. So they both got a lot of talent. I think me, with this team, I think I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the Chargers. We got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson. If Melvin Gordon don't play, those two in the backfield are going to be able to take the load off of Phillip Rivers. So I'm going to go with the Chargers.
We shall see what happens with Melvin Gordon. Will the trade happen? Is Austin Eckler the answer if the trade does happen? I think there's a lot of question marks going into the LA Chargers season.
Who do you think should make the play for Melvin Gordon? Which team would be a good fit?
It's really going to come down to who can clear the cap space to pick him up. All implications are showing the Texans are probably going to be the front runner for that. And like we said at the beginning of the show, are the Chargers even going to trade him? Just because someone says they want to trade doesn't mean you get what you want. Who knows what happens? But I think the biggest question mark, especially coming into the preseason and going into week 1, it's late. No one was expecting, I don't think, and I could be wrong. Maybe they were expecting this Melvin Gordon to hold out and not report to training camp. And now here we are at week 1. Is Eckler ready? It's some question marks, and I personally would stay away from the Chargers to start this season. Phillip Rivers is always solid quarterback choice, but as far as the running back situation goes, I'd probably stash Eckler if you picked him up, or if he's a free agent still. Picking him up in your league, I think that's a big pickup. I would wait to see, though, before I would put him in and start him, just to see what happens.
I feel Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson, both, you want to be picking them up in the later rounds towards, the last spots of your bench. But you definitely want to stash those players because you don't know what's going to happen. And if Melvin Gordon doesn't play, those are number one studs. These guys could be your number one, number two running backs. They will put up the points. This offense produces. They have volume. They get down. They go down the field and they score. So definitely pick up those guys later rounds, of course.
We shall see what happens. Going into Awesome Sauce, who do you got in this game? Who's going to be the big star?
You know what? I'm going to go with Keenan Allen. This dude is a beast. He had an amazing season last year. He puts up 8 to 12 receptions a game. He's going to have a plus 100 yards, a touchdown. He's going to have an amazing game, like always.
Typically on Awesome Sauce, we're picking a player who's going to make the biggest impact on your fantasy team. I am picking somebody who's going to make the biggest impact, but if you put him in, he's going to make a negative impact. Interceptions do not make good Awesome Sauce. Andrew Luck, don't play him. I just don't believe the hype in Andrew Luck. The guy threw, what did we say? He was third in interceptions last year on fantasy football quarterbacks. I just don't know about it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like he plays well in big games. I think it's going to take a while for them to gel. So I'm right there with you on that one.
All right. Who do you got in the win for this game?
I'm going to go Chargers. It's going to be a close game, but they're at home. I feel like they're going to pull it off. 3-point lead, 7-point lead. It's going to be a close game, though. One-score game.
I'm going to go with the Chargers as well. Who knows what's going to happen with Gordon? We shall see. I think that's going to make a big difference in the game. Let's get ready to head over to the kitchen. We got Chef Robert in the kitchen today. Now, what's Chef Robert's going to do is every week he's going to have a awesome, easy, quick way to impress your guests for your fantasy football parties that you're having. Week 1, no. And I don't know, did he tell you what we were cooking? I'm not the biggest fan of vegetables, but usually Chef Robert is able to...
some sort of stuffed zucchini, sausage, zucchini.
Robert, you ready? Is he over there in the kitchen? Do we got the kitchen shot ready over there? Are we over there? We're having just a little bit of issues here getting the video on here. Just give us 1 second here. What are you drinking today, by the way?
Today I'm drinking a Goose Island IPA. I'm just trying something new. It's pretty strong, as you could tell. And yes, I am old enough to drink. Don't worry about that.
Please drink responsibly. All right, we're into the kitchen here with Chef Robert. Chef Robert, what do you got going on over there?
Hey, Gil, how's it going? So what we got for you today, we got some stuffed zucchini boats. So I just cooked up some Italian sausage with some of these seasonings, black pepper, some salt, Italian seasoning, a little bit of diced onion. And so then I just scooped out the zucchini and stuffed them with the sausage mixture, a little bit of cheese, garnished with some tomatoes. And I'm going to pop those in the oven at 425 for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we should be ready to eat. So you can check back with us a little bit later. Back to you, Gil.
All right, looks delicious. I can't wait to get our hands on
yeah, it looked very great
on that squash. Or zucchini. What is the...
It's pretty similar, yellow and green. That's about all I know about squash and zucchini.
The big difference. Well, you know what? Enough vegetable talk. Let's get into the 3 other games that we have here. We're going to swing over to the Steelers and Patriots. This one's a big game. Steelers-Patriots. The biggest storyline for me, Tom Brady loses Gronkowski. I know Gronk wasn't the fantasy player everybody hoped he was going to be last season. Mm-hmm. However, he was a threat. He did draw coverage. He's gone now. Who's Brady throwing to?
He still does have Julian Edelman, but my thing is with the Patriots, they always win. They have the coaching. They believe into the system. They get it done. Their defense, they play tight, man. They always get it done, so you can never count them out. My question is with the Steelers, is Juju really that number 1 receiver? With letting Brown go, is Juju still going to be able to play like that number 1 receiver? Is Connor going to be that number 1 back? That's my question, is the Steelers.
And that's a big question. Last year, James Conner, 280 fantasy points for the Steelers. He had a big year. Is he able to do it again? Again, when we talk about players leaving, players coming in, Antonio Brown leaving, that's coverage. That's one less guy you have to watch. Mm-hmm. They did bring in Dante Moncrief.
Yeah, Dante Moncrief. They still have Eli Rogers, but it's not Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is one of the best receivers, and that's all there is to it. I think he's going to be just as reliable with the Raiders. I know he has some type of injury going on. We're getting a little off topic, but I think he's going to have a great year with the Raiders as well.
I think he will. You did mention Antonio Brown. Who's taking on that workload? Big question. As well, the running backs for New England, going back to New England here, Tom Brady, always a solid pick for fantasy football quarterback. Don't know if he's top 5 this year. He just picked up a new contract and is getting
a 2-year extension.
Yeah, so he's getting paid. Now, is he going to perform for fantasy football?
I think he will. I think Sony Michel's this is his second year. He had a very solid first year. Who else is there?
James White.
James White, man, that dude, he produces with little volume. You give this guy 5 receptions, 3 touches, and he's still going to get you 12 to 15 fantasy points. I think with Tom Brady checking down the ball to those backs, he's still going to get those touches. Edelman, great after the catch. So I think Tom Brady's going to still be. It's going to be hard for him to break that top 5 because we do have a lot of young quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. There still is Rodgers and Breeze. So I don't know if he's going to be able to break that top 5, but he's going to be very close.
If you're unable to pick up one of those top 5 quarterbacks, you really can't go wrong consistency-wise with Tom Brady. As far as a running back goes, the situation in New England, it is so tough for me to want to pick up Michel or James White just because of the workload.
Yeah.
If you're in a PPR league, maybe it makes sense with Tom Brady at quarterback, but it is tough, to even put these guys in a running back 1 or 2 position week in and week out.
And you never know what Belichick's going to do. One week, Sony Michel gets 22 carries. The next week, who's the other running back?
Michel.
No, James White. Sony Michel will get 22 carries one week. The next week, White's going to get 15 carries, 6 receptions. You never know how they're going to play. So I definitely, if you draft them at the right spot, it's worth it. But like Gil's saying, I'm not gonna pull them at a higher round just because of the unpredictability of Belichick. He likes to switch it up, so that's why I would hold off a little bit. But eventually, if they fall to you, then you swoop them up.
We shall see what happens. As far as Awesome Sauce goes, James Conner, I think, is going to have another magnificent year. I think he's going to do great in this game against the Patriots. Who do you got?
You know what? I'm going to go with probably Juju. I think he is the real deal. I think Brown did take a lot of heat off of him from the other side, but Juju is the real deal, and he's going to get 10 to 12 targets, so he's going to make 7, 8 receptions, probably a touchdown. I feel like Juju's going to have a big game, but I do agree with you. I like Conner. Conner's going to have a big year, and it's going to be a volume thing with him too, so I like the Conner pick.
Should be a big game. As far as the winner of the game,
it's going to be close. I think I'm going to go with the Super Bowl champs, the Patriots. I hate to say it, man. I'm not a big fan of the Patriots, but they just seem to always get it done.
I'm going to go with the Steelers. I think they have enough weapons on the offensive end to get this one done. We shall see, though. It's week 1. Anything can happen. We will see how these teams come out and play. Let's move on to our next game. Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants. The Giants, boy, this is a team that you're not, other than Saquon Barkley, what do you expect from this team? How does Odell Beckham leaving this team affect Saquon Barkley?
I know they brought in Golden Tate. They still have Sterling Shepard, but Barkley he's a one of a kind talent. So I really don't think it's gonna affect him that much, Gil. Honestly. I think he's still going to get the volume. I think he's going to get those breakouts. He's still going to have a great season. He had an amazing season last year, so I don't necessarily know if it's going to be better, but I think it's going to be a very good season for him.
It should be another big season for Barkley. I just feel with Beckham, again, players leaving, players coming in, it's one less guy you have to worry about on the defensive side. Is Golden Tate and Odell Beckham? Probably not. Is he going to draw double coverage? We shall see. It's a change of scenery.
He probably won't draw double coverage, but when you put 8 in the box to stop Barkley, Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard could both beat one-on-one coverage. So they're going to have big years. I think they're going to have great years as well, both of them.
I think maybe just the big question mark is how's that offensive line going to protect
that's exactly
Eli
what
Manning
I was
this year? Also, on the other side, Zeke Elliott, I know he, in the preseason, did not report to training camp. Is he still a top 3 running back in fantasy football drafts?
Zeke's a beast. That's all I could say about Ezekiel Elliott. You got to pay the man and get him back on the field. They have a lot of talent. I have a little bit of questions about Amari Cooper. They brought in Randall Cobb. I really like Randall Cobb. They have Michael Gallup. So they do have talent. It's just about, honestly, it's about Dak Prescott. Is he going to be able to deliver the ball? And I don't know. I don't even know who their secondary, third string backs are. So
we shall see what happens with Zeke. I just don't know going into drafts. Is he a top 3 running back? Do you pick him up? Do you wait? Is he going to play? Is it going to be something like
Le'Veon Bell
last season?
I think you wait till the 3rd, 4th week of the preseason, and you kind of determine. Same with Melvin Gordon. You play it off of that. If the teams are talking that they've resolved an issue, they're getting close, then you'll pull the trigger in the first round on both of those guys. If they haven't, then honestly, I kind of feel like a lot of people made this mistake of picking up Bell and thinking he's going to play. Oh, he's going to be gone 1-2 weeks. You don't know that. He could hold out all year. They want that upfront money. They need that money they're trying to secure their future for their family. So I'm going to hold off on both of those players for right now.
We shall see what happens. If Zeke does end up in your lap in a draft, it's very hard to pass up on him. As far as the winner of this game, I think this one's a pretty easy pick. We're probably going the same direction.
You go first. I don't know if we're going in the same direction.
I just don't know if the Giants have enough power on either side of the ball to pull this off.
So you're taking the Cowboys?
I am taking the Cowboys.
I think it all depends on if Elliott plays. If Elliott doesn't play, I will take Saquon Barkley with 200-plus yards, 2 touchdowns, and they win by 3 points.
That's a
bold, very bold
pick. Bold pick. I think that IPA there may have something to do with it. As far as awesome as you knock over your IPA. Awesome sauce player for this game. Who do you got, Tommy?
I just said it. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, Saquon Barkley, baby.
I'm going to go I'm going to stay with the Giants. I feel like Golden Tate's going to have a big game. I feel like everybody's going to be focusing on Barkley. Golden Tate to have a good performance against the Cowboys.
I like the call.
All right, we got our last game. We're going to head back into the kitchen here shortly. So to check on Robert, see how his zucchini, squash, yellow or green, whatever you want to call it, is cooking up. I can smell it from over here. It's smelling good.
It's very, very interesting. I have never seen anything like it before. I've never tried anything like it, so we'll see.
We'll see how it comes out. Texans versus Saints.
That's a great matchup. We have a lot of big name players. There's going to be a lot of fantasy points. We got Watson, Hopkins, Fuller, Breeze, Kamara, Michael Thomas, Jared Cook. A lot of amazing players. What do you think?
I was doing the math for last season. Kamara, Breeze, and Thomas combined 974 points last season.
That's a lot of points.
A trio to be reckoned with in the fantasy football leagues that you guys are in. On the other side of the ball, though, Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins. If Melvin Gordon goes over to the Texans, then you got a 3-headed beast, much like the Saints. Last year, Lamar Miller rounding out those 3, 819 points combined. So a lot of offensive firepower in this game. Who do you like?
I'm gonna have to go with the Saints at home. I feel like Michael Thomas just got paid. He's gonna show why he deserves all that money. Probably get 10, 12 reception. That combo, if you draft Breeze and Michael Thomas, that's like a Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce combo. Those double up on those points. So I really like that combo. I think Kamara losing Ingram over there, I think it's gonna give him a lot more volume. Who did they pick up? They picked up Latavius Murray. So I think he's going to help out, but I think Kamara's going to have a big year. But Michael Thomas, that's going to be my awesome sauce player for this game is Michael Thomas. He's going to have an amazing game, plus 20 fantasy points.
Should be very interesting. Last year, my Buccaneers opened up against, I'm almost quite positive, opened against the Saints. Won, and was it, I believe, Fitzpatrick, because Winston was suspended for his first 3 games. Fitzpatrick had the game of his life.
Fitzmagic is what we called it last season.
That's right.
Putting up 50 points a game. It was amazing.
I'm going with Deshaun Watson as the awesome sauce player of this game. We shall see if history repeats itself. As far as the winner of this game, I believe Watson's going to have a great game. Again, going back to last year, Bucs put up 48 points. I believe the Saints put up 40. So they still offensively had enough firepower to compete with the Bucs. I think the Saints are going to win this game, but I feel like it is going to be a shootout. Look for a very high-scoring game, and we'll see what the Texans can do on defense. A highly ranked defense from last year as well.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. It's going to be a lot of points. You better hope you have some of these players on your fantasy team.
All right. Those are the 6 games this week with the biggest fantasy implications, or if you want to count the one bottom dweller between the Bucs and Niners, maybe that's only 5 games. But I really think Jameis Winston's going to have a big game in that Week 1 matchup against the Niners. Let's go ahead and check back in with Chef Robert. Is Chef Robert have any updates on the fantastic stuffed zucchini that he is making over in Studio 21 kitchen? What do you got, Chef Robert?
All right, Miguel, so as you can see real quick, they're almost done. We got about another minute or two. So, should be there in just a little bit, so we'll check back with you shortly.
All right, that sounds good. We didn't cover the rest of the games this week. Is there anything else, do you think, as the fantasy football owner, who do you like to have a big week? I know we didn't talk about a lot of players.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of different strategies when you're drafting fantasy, so it just depends. It depends a lot on where you're drafting. Are you drafting towards the top where you get to pick Barkley, Kamara, McCaffrey? Those are the top 3 backs that you know are going to get the workload. Are you drafting towards the bottom where you're going to, possibly get a tier 2 running back or Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, tier 1 receivers? Where are you going to pull your quarterback? So it's a lot to think about when you're drafting. What order, who you're playing with. Sometimes you get that random person that likes to pull that quarterback. Patrick Mahomes will probably get pulled in the first, second round in a lot of leagues. He probably shouldn't. You probably shouldn't take your quarterback because there's a lot of value later on. But we'll see. I mean, the player that I like is I'm shooting for Le'Veon Bell. Honestly, if he could fall to me, I'm in a lot of my leagues. I'm drafting towards the bottom half. I'm in a 12-man league. I'm dropped 10 to 12. So if Le'Veon Bell fell to me, I would love to pick him up. How about you?
I like you said on the quarterback side, I think Patrick Mahomes, if he's there, you probably got to take him. After Mahomes, there's not much value in the quarterback, at least in that first round.
Yeah.
Second, last year, Matt Ryan was second in fantasy points for quarterback. Thinking back, Matt Ryan, second in fantasy points, didn't have the best of year last year. But there's a big drop-off. Looking at 417 points for Patrick Mahomes last year. Matt Ryan was the next closest at 354 points. So there's that big drop in after Mahomes. Where do you go? In the first round? I think, like you said, you got to go running back. And when you're talking running back, again, depending on where you're drafting, if Le'Veon Bell falls into your lap in that final half of the first round, then I think you're a happy person. Again, you got Zeke Elliott, you got Melvin Gordon. What's going to end up happening with those guys? Where do they fall? A big name that we didn't talk much about is David Johnson. Is he able to rebound from last year? He got the rookie quarterback. He's got the new coach, Larry Fitzgerald's still there. They have some weapons. Is it going to really come down to how good is Kyler Murray, and are people going to be respecting him enough for David Johnson to get out in the open?
I think Kyler Murray is going to be a great late rounder. I think David Johnson will have a great year. I think David Johnson is going to get the volume again, and depending on how the coach utilizes him, you want to get this guy on the outside, get him those check downs. You don't want to be just rushing him up the middle every time, but I think it's going to be a bounce back year. I think the Cardinals are going to be very surprising, honestly, with Kyler Murray, David Johnson, Fitzgerald, a veteran. He always produces. That dude I think that dude has dropped about 8 passes in his whole career. He has more 8 to 10 drops, sincerely, but
it's gonna be an interesting interesting year for David Johnson. I believe I picked him up with my first pick, 10-man league last year, and that was luckily I was able to pick Connor up in the free agents market, and that saved me.
That's a gift, man. A lot of people lucked out with that because he was the number one all year long.
We shall see what happens. Wrapping up the show, food is ready. Let's get that in. You wanna hand that over? We got a plate here. All right. Got some forks. We're going to share, I guess.
Let's do it.
We'll not have to share forks. But let's take a look at what we got here. We got Chef Rob, what did we put? So we got zucchini, and we got what else in here? Some sausage,
tomatoes,
some mild thyme sausage, some onion, just salt, pepper.
What kind of cheese do we got in here?
Italian blend.
All right. Let's dig in.
Nice 6 cheese mixture there.
Is it still hot? I don't want to burn myself. We're going to wrap this up, guys. We're going to chow down. We'll see you on week 2. Don't start Andrew Luck.
Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, guys.